Assalamu alaikum, family. There you are. Welcome to the Sajdah channel. You're tuned into the Sajdah Morning Coffee Talks. I'm your host, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. Be a friend and tell a friend. We're going to get started in a couple of minutes. Check out these few commercials I got, and I'll see you. We're going to be talking about why you and I are so ashamed of our divinity. We'll see you in a few.
O Allah, guide me among those whom Thou hast guided aright, and preserve me among those whom Thou hast preserved, and befriend me among those whom Thou hast befriended. Bless me in whatsoever Thou dost grant me, and deliver me from the evil of what Thou hast judged. Surely Thou judgest, and none can judge against Thee. And he whom Thou befriendest is not disgraced. Blessed art Thou, O Lord, and exalted be Thee above what they set up besides Thee. I bear witness, nothing deserves to be served besides Thee. And I bear witness that Muhammad is Thy servant and apostle. Amen.
The Honorable Elijah Muhammad, who in my judgment is the master historian, taught us that of all our studies, history is the most attractive, and it is best qualified to reward the researcher. History is most attractive. Why should history be most attractive? Because history is the recorded time of the human family in its struggle to overcome obstacles. There is no life that is without struggle. The Holy Quran teaches us that man, meaning man and woman, is made to face difficulties. And after difficulty comes ease. But it is history that guides us through difficulty. For if you know how people who had difficulty yesterday got through, and if your difficulty is somewhat similar, then today we also can get through if we follow the guidance of history. This is why Carter G. Woodson and many of our black giants fought for black people to know our history. Because in not knowing our history, we don't have a guide. And without a guide, we are lost. No wonder the Bible...
Assalamu alaikum. Happy Friday. Peace be unto you. And happy Savior's Day. It is officially Savior's Day season. And we are so excited and looking forward to Savior's Day, which is going to be here in Chicago, Illinois. I love the new song by my brother Hashim. Welcome to Chicago. I've been playing it on my social media sites, so I'll post it again today. But I've been using it as background for a lot of stuff. And for those of you who are interested in coming to visit, you can go to sajdahhouse.com. You can see how to attend one of the receptions that we're going to be having. We're having 2 receptions, one for sponsors and coin holders, and supporters, and then another one for Black Muslim businesses. You can attend one or both. It doesn't matter. But I'm just excited. There will be some tours throughout the day, and I would encourage you to go out there and book because space is limited. Okay. We've been pushing. We are at the edge, and folks is raising money for all kind of stuff. And I've been saying to people lately that causes that harm us as a people are taking a back seat to causes that mean something to us. Okay. I know right now everybody is so stressed out. We're stressed out over the election. We're stressed out over, the inauguration. We're just stressed. And a lot of that has to do because there are some real life issues that many of us are dealing with in their attempt to cushion or stop the fall of America. There's a lot of shakeups that are happening. I'm not going to speak on that one way or another, but I recognize that is what is happening. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad already told us. He predicted all these weather conditions. Listen, you all better pick up your message to the Black man. Go out. The great thing to do is YouTube University. Go listen to some of the ministers' speeches, listen to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, and pay attention to the survival tools and tactics that we were given. Pay attention to the divinity that they open up in us. Pay attention to the love. There's, it's just a really peaceful and loving process. And it's so interesting because, well, before I get into that, because that's getting us into our topic, but let me say this. Yes, come and visit, support. Thank you to each and every one of you who have been purchasing some of the items from our virtual gift shop. We ask you to continue to purchase. We have to prepare for you. The cost of the receptions for everybody and the tours is $25 per person. Once we get it going and get open, then it's going to be completely free to members, which is people who have coins. But right now, your girl is shucking out money left and right. And so we at least got to pay for personnel, staff, and what it's going to take for us to get ready for you all. So $25 a person is what we're doing. For the tours, the children are free. Children under 12 are free. It's the honor system. So we ask that you, if you know your child is 15, don't go, they free. Pay the $25. It ain't much. I try to make things so that it's accessible and affordable to all of us, to each and every one of us. Let's see. So that's it. Yeah. So go to our Instagram pages. Make sure you follow us on Instagram. I had predicted many years ago that we would eventually have like 1 million followers on Sajdah House Instagram page. And we're approaching 10,000, so we need to make sure that all of you go out there and follow. It's at Sajdah House. People laughed at me when I said that we would have 1 million followers, but I'm convinced that we will. I have no doubt. I'm one of these, I'm a shameless believer. I'm just a shameless believer in Allah. I'm a shameless believer in God. I shamelessly believe that what Allah promised us is true, and that he will do what he said that he will do, and he will do what I believe that he can do. And I believe, and I'm so grateful for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad and the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan for really teaching me how to have a direct access to God. Direct access, straight line to God. And so I'm grateful for that. And I see his power everywhere. I see it manifesting. I see it flowing. I see it in me. I see it everywhere. And of course, it's because I look for him everywhere. One of the things that I want to talk about today is how ashamed many of us are of our divinity. A lot of us are walking around here and we are just straight up gods, but we're ashamed of it. We're afraid of it. We're worried about what somebody else is going to say. But there's some other reasons why we're ashamed. And I want to talk about it today. This might not be a comfortable conversation for a lot of you. Okay. And some of you may be saying, okay, well, how does this tie into doing for self and conscious entrepreneurship? It's everything connected to that. See, because if we don't tap into our divinity, we have to tap into some kind of power outside of ourselves. It may be the system. It may be something crazy. It may be something that's other than ourselves. But you're going to have to tap into something, because if you could do it by yourself based on your own intellectual capacity, you'd have did it by now. You'd already done it. And a lot of us like to call on God for little things, right? And I know when you don't have groceries, getting groceries is a big deal, but that's the extent to which we cash in on the power of God. A lot of us, from a business standpoint, will just say, if I could just be a vendor at Savior's Day or at Black Expo or at one of these events, but we don't cash in on becoming a multi-million-dollar distributor of those goods and services, or introducing much needed goods and services into our community. We don't cash in. We only go as far as our ego will allow us to go. And so it's all about, oh, God got me a parking spot. God gave me this. And yes, we're grateful for those things. But what about the big things that you showed up on the planet to do? Why aren't you doing them? And why aren't we approaching at least an attempt to do them? I want to talk about that today. All right. I want you guys to be interactive with me. Thank you to you all who are in the chat. Any of you all who have questions, comments, please, let's put them in there. But the goal of this show is to push us. Okay. Push the envelope, push us out a little bit, push us to the edge. God is more than some cheap parking spot, some groceries, rent money. Yes, that's important. It's very important when you don't have it. But he's way more than that, way bigger than that. And I'm pushing us. I have to also say, well, let's go into it. One of the reasons why we're ashamed of our divinity. This thing is just downloading so much into me. Let me give you a story first. There is an aspect of my divinity that I spent most of my life, my childhood and adulthood, being ashamed of. I've always been a seer. from as little as 3 or 4 years old. I could see things, I could see people. I kept quiet about it most of my life. And when I would speak, but I've navigated my life as a seer. I remember in high school, my abilities ratcheted up so much that literally I was in what we call the a cappella choir. I was a second soprano. And I was also in what we call the CHS Singers, which was a jazz ensemble that was for the elites a cappella singers. And they would introduce music to us, songs to us. We would sing vocal compositions that were created to Brahms. It was mostly, in the choir, it was mostly like classical music. A lot of In Excelsis Deo and stuff like that. Kind of hinting on the operatic side. And they would introduce songs and tones and notes to us that I had never heard before. And I would know them off my head. And I guess maybe Allah was showing me that this was what he was downloading, and he literally would download it into me, was because I wore glasses all my life. In the 9th grade, I started wearing contacts. And back then, I had these hard little contact lenses that used to really hurt your eyes. And when I would go to a cappella choir, because I didn't like how I would be over concentrated on my eyes with those contacts in it. And then I had gotten to the point where I was ashamed of my thick glasses. I would take the contacts out. So I'm literally standing there in a cappella choir in my space, right there, hoping they don't have us move around because I couldn't see. All right. And I'm sitting there, can't see, and they would introduce new music, and they put the sheet music in front of us, and everybody, we would kind of group together so we could see the sheet music, and I couldn't see it. But I was able to sing it, or even when I was playing my flute, I was able to play it by ear, or even without even knowing what they were going to introduce to us. And that kind of quiet seeing ability I used throughout college, I used in the corporate world. But the part that I was most, I'm sorry, I forgot to turn this stuff off. The part that I was most ashamed of was what I call my sensitivity levels. I did not realize that it was a divine gift. And I used to cry all the time or feel emotional all the time. I didn't understand the combination of what I was seeing and what I was feeling. And so I spent a lot of time I moved into a phase probably around college where I started to get angry with myself and upset with myself because I did not like how sensitive I was. And I got to the point where I was so sensitive that somebody, it could be somebody in my family, it could be anybody, could be thinking something about me. And I would hear it and feel it and see it and then react as if they actually said it out of their mouth. So I had to learn how to navigate the metaphysical world and the physical world. Okay. And by the time I became a very young adult, 22, 23 years old, and became a member of the Nation of Islam, those senses and things were on full blast. It served me well as an orientation instructor in the ministry class and the Vanguard, working with people, but it didn't serve me well interpersonally because it was tough. And it wasn't until I went back out into the corporate world and took a course on emotional intelligence that the light bulb or that aha moment happened for me. And it was almost like Allah waited to explain it to me. And I got a download one day and said, there's a reason you can sit at the table and see things other people may not see, hear things other people may not hear, or know things that they don't know yet. That's your sensitivity. So stop beating yourself up for being what you consider to be overly sensitive, and use that gift to navigate your way through life. And when that happened, I can't pop my fingers, but it was like, boom. And then all of a sudden I started to see in the corporate world, my success levels elevate. I started to see, by the time I got to DC and Maryland, and we were building the hospital, it was all there. I literally knew how to build these clinics, these surgery centers, and these hospitals. And all I had to do was just go into FIGLY guidelines. And I did this I had fun doing it, like, okay, I just got this. Let me see. Oh yeah, here it is. And literally it was like Allah was depositing what to do in my brain. And I fully then got it, and I began to embrace who I am. And this has really been in the last 15 years. And I just really no longer care what anybody thinks about it, if they think I'm crazy or whatever. I don't care anymore. It doesn't matter. And I've been what I call wildly successful as a result. And I had a little point where I kind of cut myself off. Well, I don't know, maybe Allah did it, but I was cut off a little bit from society, kind of isolated in a space. And I went into sort of like a functional depression. And in that functional depression, I learned more things about myself. In that space, I was able to forgive myself for not allowing myself to be in love with the gifts that Allah gave me. And so in that space of about 2 to 3 years of just forgiving myself and loving myself and taking care of myself, and I started noticing so many things. Some of you all commented like, man, you lost a lot of weight. It had a lot to do with letting go and forgiving myself. Because once I discovered what those gifts were, me being in love with Allah, I started feeling this guilt trip. And I started feeling this shame. And then I just had to forgive it and let it go and go, you know what? I'm going to ride this thing out. And I really am grateful because the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan he said something to me one day that snapped it out of me. It was a very Jesus moment. And I had my list of what I was going to ask him, something about Sajdah House. And he said, how long have you been ashamed of how you believe, or I can't even remember the exact words. I remember the word ashamed. Basically, he was asking me, how long had I been ashamed of myself and my divinity? And the word ashamed broke me. It broke me open. And then I don't think I said anything. Then he rephrased it. He said, have you ever been ashamed? And then I admitted it. I said, yes. And he began to teach me about gifts, and I won't share all that, but it helped me. And I want to bring that to light today because I firmly believe that I'm not one of these selfish persons. I believe that a prophecy for one is a prophecy for all. And I don't look at it like, I don't live a passive or subtraction type of life. I don't live a life where it's like, this is my stuff, my word. This is about me, my ego. I'm competing. You can't know. I had a one of the top partners at the accounting firm that I worked for when I first graduated from college. I was in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I was the only Black person there. So clearly they knew who I was. And you know, as a rookie in the accounting firms, you kind of do the grunt work. You got to copy all the papers. You got to do this. And it was a snowstorm one day. And in the middle of the snowstorm, one of the managers, who was very abusive, I think I've told you stories about her, a very abusive, Karen type Indiana woman. We were all shutting down, getting all of our work papers together so that we could go home because the office was going to be closed tomorrow, the next day. And she came and told me that the head partner, who was the regional partner, needed some work papers and that I had to take them to his house. And I hadn't finished packing up my own stuff to take home. And she came and basically bullied me and told me that I had to go up to his place. And I was just like, okay, whatever. And I remember I just wanted to get away from her. So I was like, let me go drop this stuff off. I'm from Nebraska. I know how to drive in the snow. They freaking out. Let me go. So I go out and I won't say where he lived or anything like that. But I get to his place. It's snowing outside. I want to say maybe it's already about 4 or 5 inches. The streets are not plowed. So I'm like, you know, weaving my way there, get there, run up the stairs, drop off the work papers to him and come back. I had locked my keys in my car. And he was so nice. He was an older Jewish man. When I showed up and I rang the doorbell, he looked, his wife came to the door. She's like, oh my God, come in, because it's snow all over me because it's snowing. And it's snowing hard. And I walk in their door and she said, have a seat. And I said, oh, I'm so filled with snow. She's like, don't worry about it. Because they had this foyer, big, beautiful house, like an older home, kind of like the ones you see in the neighborhood of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad house. And I'm in the foyer. And then he comes in and I hand him the papers. And it's we had these big, work papers. Handed him the work papers. They're all in these binders. And he tells me to be careful. He offered for me to stay for dinner. And I said, well, the snow might get worse, so I better go now. And he said, okay. So he walks out. And when I walked down their stairs to my car, I had locked my keys in my car. And I was like, oh, and I turned around and he was already coming down the stairs to help me. And then he said, don't tell nobody, but I got a special skill. And I said, okay. And he went back in his house and got a Slim Jim. I don't know how many of y'all know what a Slim Jim is. This is the big time, financial Jewish partner at the firm. And he got his Slim Jim and got my car door open. He said, be careful. And I was like, wow. But I remember something had told me to go. So I get back, get my papers. And then the next day, I lived actually downtown. And I was like, oh, it ain't that bad. I'm going to go in the office and review work papers for the job that I got next week. When I went in the office, he was there. It was like only 1 or 2 people there. And he walked over to me and he said something to me that broke me open. Not only was it his niceness that helped me with my car, his humanity, but he said, one of the things that your people struggle with is that you're really ashamed of who you are. And I was like, it was almost identical to what the minister said to me just a year or so ago. But he made it general about the collective. He said, you guys are very ashamed of what you are. And so I started studying this. I said, why are we ashamed? And I wanted to have this conversation with him, but I wasn't bold enough to go into the conversation. One of the reasons why we're ashamed is because you all, the people, the society, the people in charge, not him in particular, because he clearly was a very nice guy. I'm saying you all as a collective, as a society, makes it seem as if our spiritual gifts are a problem. And this has been going on since slavery, since we were not allowed to sing, since we were not allowed to use drums, since our spiritual practices were called voodoo and all of that. So certain gifts that we have were cherry picked by society and were used to benefit somebody else, but not ourselves. And so when we displayed any talent, we were ashamed of it. Now, if it was a talent that could benefit somebody else, we got lots of attention for it, whether it was playing basketball or sometimes singing or something like that. But a lot of our survival talents, those spiritual talents, we were made fun of and we were not allowed to use. This is why so many of us, we could easily say that our grandmothers or our great grandmothers were divine. They could see, they could do things, they could make something out of nothing. And then over time, that became taboo. All of a sudden, it didn't make sense. Okay? All of a sudden, we couldn't be divine. We couldn't be special. So we're trying to serve a master that is cherry picking our talents and throwing the rest of it away. And so we find ourselves focused on the things that they like and being ashamed of the things about ourselves that are not mainstream. The other piece of that, and let me say this happens every single day. Okay? We turn on the television and we've been so trained mentally that we literally are trying our best to be what we see. If we don't understand something, we're ashamed. We don't want to let anybody know because we are all really trying to submit to this spook in the sky, this proverbial person that doesn't really exist. So we're against each other. We want to compete against each other. You know, we don't like the fact if somebody else is doing something, we got to try to do it. We get jealous of somebody who's doing something and we got to try to do it better. And we do all of this and we spend so much energy focusing on that the true gifts, the true divinity, the thing that makes you gets pushed down. It gets pushed back. And then we're still so weird. This has made us so weird. We're so weird that we see somebody else with a talent or gift. And then we either do one of two things. We either try to do it and try to compete, or we mad at them. We jealous of them. We become users. Well, if it's about, what's going to support my ego, then I'm good. But if it ain't, then I'm not. Not knowing that our job here on earth is to develop our spiritual gifts. And one of the things that I have made as my life's motto is anything that I can do to help somebody discover who they are and to be successful. If it's within my realm to do, I will do it. So if you're my friend, if you're my client, if you're around me, whatever I can do to see you grow, develop, be successful, get a win under your belt, then I'm going to do it. But here's the real reason why we got a problem with our own divinity. It's because we don't love ourselves and we don't see ourselves as worthy. We don't really believe that we were made in the image and likeness of God. We don't really believe that we are divine creatures, descendant of the Most High God. We don't really believe it. So the things in this world have become gods to us. And if society says we can't do it, or they put obstacles in our way that we can't intellectually figure out how to overcome, we go, I can't do it. But there is nothing you and I cannot do if we put our mind to it because of who we are. And when you feel ashamed, it means that the value of yourself and who you are has not yet caught up with, or your thought of the value of who you are has not caught up with who you really are. So you have a low self-esteem, a low view of yourself. And so as a result of having that low view of yourself, you don't think much of yourself. You don't think much of your divinity. And guess what happens? You start believing in a spook God. See, when you don't believe in the reality, the true reality of God outside of your ego, then your divine gifts that are bigger than what you can comprehend, that extend beyond your mind, beyond the circumference of your mind, you'll never get to and will never access because you don't believe it. You don't believe in God and you don't believe in your own self. A lot of us say, well, I believe in God, but then we don't believe in ourselves. That means you don't believe in God neither. And part of why we're losing our pliability and our suppleness as people and as a community is because we don't believe in God. We have taken on the belief of a God besides Allah. We are all walking around here polytheists because the God of this world is so powerful that we say it ain't nothing that can defeat that. But guess what? Guess what? Until we recognize the power of God, the power of source, the power of the universe, until we understand that, we're never going to get out of the circumference, first of our own mind, secondly, of the circumference of the God of this world that we live in. See, because the God of this world, when we watch on TV every day and we so busy watching what they doing, can't stop the snow, can't stop the 10 inches of snow in New Orleans, can't stop the fires, can't stop the weather, can't stop a whole lot of things. It can't even stop a gnat or a fly from bothering them. But yet we've made them gods. Now, we live in a world and there are laws and rules in the world that we must abide by. Our leader and teacher teaches us in the Nation of Islam that we must be law-abiding citizens. That is important. But that don't make that leader of the world or these people gods besides Allah. See, you can't see your divinity because you can't see yourself in the system. And because you've made a God out of the system, you can't see the gifts that the true and living God has given you and what you showed up on the planet to do. Huh? Talk to me. I see y'all making some comments here. Let me give it, because listen, there's no bill, no resolution, no nothing that's going to get us up out of this stuff and make us free until we tap into our divinity. See, the world is just waiting for the gods to stand up. And because the God's sitting up here making a God besides Allah, I'm talking about us as gods with a little g, because we ain't there yet. We got all these other things that we worshiping. We in an organization, we worshiping that person. We in a relationship with somebody, and that person makes the circumference of the emotions around what they want from us, the God. So we really worshiping their emotional response. And everything we do is based on how they're going to emotionally respond to us. We're sitting up here worshiping what we want. We want this, we want that, and we worshiping it. We got a problem. We've been through trauma, and that problem and that trauma has become our God. But we have a direct access to Almighty God, Allah, right here, that if we stop making all these other gods a God besides Allah, we will be so much more successful. And I'm just giving this to you in a very practical way. We could go into the Holy Quran, we could go into the Bible, but I want to talk this through with us, because a lot of times, because we don't even really believe in the book like we say we do, when the book gets pulled out, we lose sight, we release ourselves from responsibility because it's there in the book. But the responsibility is on you and I. What gifts has Allah deposited inside of you that you are supposed to be using to help yourself, your family, and save your people? What gifts do you have that you're ignoring, that you're not developing because you're afraid, you're ashamed, you're too busy competing, you're too busy worrying about what somebody else is doing? Do you know you could get yourself so off course that if you sitting up here working on something and all of a sudden you see somebody doing something and you start chasing that and spending your time, your resources, and your energy towards chasing what you see somebody else doing, you done missed your whole divinity over here. You done missed your whole calling over here, chasing down what somebody else is doing. That's why we can't see it. Okay, let me see y'all in the chat. I welcome your comments today. Okay, I see my sister Nubia Latifa in the house. Sister Latifa, are you coming to Savior's Day? I hope to see you. I see Sister Betty. She says happy Friday. I see Mom. I see Sister Sabira. Walaikum salam, sis. I see Keen X Robinson gave us the greetings. Keen X Robinson said, wow, powerful. Thank you for sharing. Got the thumbs. Somebody said, I love to see y'all. Okay. That was Nanny Kosei Ventures. Variety is the spice here. Tell me what you mean by that, Nana Kosei. I don't know what you mean. Let's see. Somebody, Keen X Robinson said, good teachings. I needed this, or I should say, I need this. Present tense. Yes. We all need it, right? That was a bar. I don't know which one that was. Said, Nana Kosei Venture said, people pay most attention to people's emotions, energy here. Spot on. Okay. Thank you all. I welcome your comments. Please put some comments. If you have chats, hit that super chat button also down there in the right. Go to Sajdah Enterprises, Cash App, support. Create the flow right here in the middle while you're receiving something. Don't practice subtraction energy. Yes, this is a shameless plug for you to support, but it's also something for us to practice. When you receive, give. Flow. When you receive something, give something. Don't just sit up selfish in your ego. Okay. Nana said that he likes to see Muslims in America. He saw them in Ghana. I love Ghana. The people in Ghana are so nice. Lion Mac said, Assalamu alaikum. All praises due to Allah. I need that. RJ Funches gives us the greetings and says, ASA, sis, and chat. So giving the greetings to everyone and to me. So I want us to break ourselves away from being ashamed of our divinity and who we are. Deep down inside, you got a gift. You got something about you. And I don't want you going out trying to show off and figure out, how do I tell everybody? Let me get on the phone and tell somebody, yeah, because this is who I am. No. Get out your ego. See, the ego is so nasty. It edges God out. What are the signs when you're edging God out? Ego, E-G-O, edging God out. Ego. Put that in the chat. Ego, edging God out. What are the signs that you're edging God out? It's because you make everything about you. Every time the bell rings, it's your fight. You can't have no conversations with anybody without putting yourself in it. You can't go anywhere without looking at solely how that situation you're looking at impacts you. And then you get off. You can't judge. You have no critical thinking because you're thinking only from the perspective of the ego. You see? So when you take down that ego some, remove yourself. Remove yourself. I asked God, I said, Allah, allow me to be open to being your conduit. Allow me to be open to you flowing through me. Remove selfishness from me. Help me to be just selfish enough to maintain my own personal sovereignty, right? Because you still got to take care of yourself. Still got to clean yourself. Still got to look good. But remove some of that from me so that I can be a giver and a lover in a sincere way, not with an intention, not looking to get something from somebody. But how do I open up? See, listen, there's a balance. And in the world that we live in, it has rapidly become the world of rugged individuals. So to the point where now everybody's on their phone. They're here looking in their phone constantly, all the time. And the thought of community has dwindled. But do you know that probably just as short as probably maybe 60, 70 years ago, we were much more community driven. You know, if you didn't have a car, it really wasn't that big of a deal. I know my grandmother didn't drive, but as society began to make us look down on that and wanted us to be more individual and more independent, it became, okay, if you don't drive, then that's a bad thing. And people are like, well, why is she dependent on me? And why I got to pick her up? But even down to, I remember when I first came in the nation, we would have the transportation list. And so at the end of every mosque meeting, if you needed a ride, you signed up on the transportation list and somebody would take you home. That was a big thing. And so there was a large number of us that would be on the transportation list. And those of us as sisters that had cars, we could drive somebody home if we wanted to, but we weren't required to run around at night dropping nobody off. And the brothers would do that and make sure that the sisters got home. You know, the whole concept of Uber is an old Black community concept called the jitney, just revamped. So people didn't have cars, but somebody else had a car and you paid them X amount of dollars. You called them and they picked you up and took you wherever you needed to go. You see it a lot in Africa, in I hate to say third world countries, but Africa and the Caribbean, where if somebody has a kekek, you know, those little things that look like a golf cart, and they're driving them on the street, then you could jump on the kekek with that person and go the direction that they're going. Sometimes they give them some money. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes you see people jump on and then they just jump off when they get ready. You see people doing that with cars. They stand on the side of the road and somebody say, wait, which way you going? And they take them there. It's a little bit more of community. And so you know that person, or you know of that person. They're not even really worried about it. But we would look down on somebody who did that today. Somebody who was either always on the transportation list or always need to ride or always want something, because we live in a society where people got their own stuff they got to work on. We don't really have the time and the opportunity to take care of each other and look out for each other like we actually should. So the sense of community is gone. The sense of synergies among us is gone. You know, how many people are carpooling? How many people pick up each other's children from school? Those community things that in a lot of cases we've lost, we need to, as conscious entrepreneurs, work on bringing that back. If you've got a restaurant in the city, why can't you be a space where the children can come and do homework? You probably ain't got that many customers, no way. Or if you do, then why not have a section over to the side and say, that's the homework section. And maybe those children get an opportunity to work or to be around your business so that they can learn. See, being around business and being close to business is how you learn business. It's how I developed a professional intuition, in addition to my own personal gifts that I have that I apply to business. Being in and around businesses for so long and growing up in and around businesses for so much and so long and studying it, there becomes a professional intuition. I saw a post where Barron Trump, President Trump's son, they're opening a real estate development company that he's going to own. Now, some of you all may say, I've seen people comment and going, oh, that's fake, that they just going to use his name. But the fact that at such a young age, him being in that space of real estate development and being around it, he has the potential to develop a professional intuition when it comes to real estate. And so these are the kinds of things that we have to open one another up to. So the third reason why a lot of us are ashamed of our gifts is because there's nobody around us that will support the development of our gifts. There's a lot of us are big grown people, and we don't really want to admit that we don't know something. Or as soon as we get a little knowledge, we're like, oh, I know, I got it, I'm good. And it's like, you know what? Calm down. Because just by connecting with somebody, you may gain access to a perspective that you would have missed. See, the biggest thing in life is knowing what to do. Always remember that. It's not so much how smart you are, it's knowing what to do to get what you want. And so we think we get a little knowledge about something and we go, I got it, I'm good, I'm straight. But because you don't have the capacity as of yet to explore all of the options and all of the particular outcomes, you probably need to wait before you get a little too arrogant. But as a community and as a people, I think we have to do a better job of supporting one another and helping another person to develop their skill sets and their divinity in a particular thing. Be a little bit more patient with one another. Be a little bit more willing. Now, if a person's just arrogant and nasty, then you can't really help them. And I get that. But some people are really crying out for knowledge. Some people really want to know more. Some people are really interested in growing and developing. And no matter how old you are, you have to be open to learning. It's never too late to learn. Because here's the thing. Oftentimes you don't know what you don't know. And when you don't know what you don't know how to get to your desired goal, because there are people who know things that you don't, and they're watching you. And so when you're opening your mouth arrogantly and talking, that person that knows is just looking at you. So what I try to do is oftentimes, if I can see, and if you're my friend or client or somebody I'm working with, I'm going to guide you. I don't own it. I can't own it. If you say, well, I don't care what you say, Wendy, I'm going to do what I want to do, then I'm just doing my part. Let me just share with you what I see, and it's up to you. So my point is this: let's be a little bit more open, both to receiving information and sharing information with somebody else. Let's be a little bit more open to exploring our own divinity and supporting somebody else through their divine journey, because that's really the key. I've helped so many people and supported so many people through their divine journey. It just makes mathematical sense that certain divine gifts will open up for me as well. That's just how it works. Nana says, some truth hurts some people's egos. I gain from your perspective, Sister Wendy. Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that, Nana. Nana Kosei Ventures. Appreciate that. Why is everybody in Ghana named Nana? What's that? That's the title, right? It's so funny. As soon as I see Nana, I already know you're from Ghana. Anyway, family, that's what I had to talk about today. I wanted to share that. I had to get that off my chest because I see so many of us with so many divine gifts. And I literally can see Allah trying to work with us, trying to elevate us. But then I see us pinching ourselves off from that divine elevation because we're so busy competing. We're so busy being arrogant. We're so busy being ashamed because we don't know what we don't know. And it just hurts me because I'm like, man, if that person would just take it down a notch and just lay in that space and let Allah work, man, they'll be amazed at who they'll be on the other side of the process. But life pressures us and it puts us in a position where we're afraid to feel vulnerable. And what I'm saying, you and I believe in that power higher than ourselves. That is there. And believe that power is here for you. And that power wants to make you and I up into itself. Allah wants to make us all up into himself. And that can happen if we allow it. And if we allow it, we can defy any odds that are against us. You can call me crazy. You could say I live in an alternative universe. You could say whatever you want to say. But I guarantee that you and I will not lose when we create a direct access to Almighty God Allah. We won't lose. And as a collective and as a people, we're facing all these changes in the world. Some changes are good for us. Some are not. Some we don't know how they're going to shake out. We don't know what's going to happen. While we're in the middle of all of that, we got to be ready and practicing to be calling upon a power that's higher and greater than ourselves. And I'm not going to say outside of ourselves. We got to line ourselves up so that power comes directly right here into us, right here into you and I, so that we receive those downloads. We know where to go. We know what to do. We're feeling what we need to feel. We're seeing what we need to see. We're in the right place at the right time with the right people, with the right information, each and every time we're facing something. And then we're grateful and we pay it forward. We are the winners. We will win and we can win. Let's get on the winning team. Let's learn to have discernment. Part of our challenge is that we don't critically think anymore. So we're unable to look at something and figure out what's good for us and what's not. So we got to wait for somebody to tell us, and we become very black and white. It's either this or that, right? Martin or Malcolm, Michael Jackson or Prince, Trump or Kamala. You're just boom, ba boom, ba boom. You need to go down the middle and dissect what works for you. You might like all of it. You might like both of it. You might like some things from this person and some things from another person, but you become the sovereign owner of what works for you. All praises due to Allah. Keenex Robin said, you're on fire this morning. All praises due to Allah. I felt that. I've been up since 3 o'clock with Allah going boom, 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 boom. We are the winners, people. We are the winners. And there is information out here where you can access how to have a direct line to Almighty God Allah. Again, I don't care who you watching on TV. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if it's a movie. I don't care if it's politics. They didn't make rain, hail, snow, and earthquakes. And there's a whole lot of things that they can't control. But you can connect the controller and have access to the controller of it all, if we conduct ourselves in the right way. So you can't be out here acting ratchet and think, I'm going to steal. That's a whole nother story. Anyway, I can't remember what we're talking about tomorrow. Let me get over this download and then we'll get ready for tomorrow. I'll see you all tomorrow. Support the vibration, Cash App, Sajdah Enterprises. Go to the QR code here, or go to sajdahhouse.com. You can book your reception, your tour, make a donation, or you can visit the virtual gift shop. Okay. People out here raising money for all kind of stuff, raising money for murderers and criminals and everything else. Let's do something for a man who gave his life and continues to give his life to change us. All right, family. Okay. Love you all. I will see you all tomorrow. Go to social media. Make sure you're following all of the accounts. Facebook, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. Instagram, Sajdah Wendy Muhammad. Instagram, Sajdah House. Okay. There's going to be some powerful announcements coming up very soon. All right, family. Love you all. Peace and blessings.